coming in from the downtown studio on the sunny streets of Raleigh. It's your host, Andrew.
This is your host, Braden, and this is Far Out Flicks. Get hype.
Freaking... I'm so pumped about this week's episode. It is going to be the long-promised TROMASODE.
Troma. It's the Toxic Avenger. Fuck yes.
TROMASODE. So
Andrew is the one who introduced me to Troma. Thank you, Andrew.
Hey.
Life-changing. I'm a worse person now.
Enriched. You're enriched from the experience.
Now my mind is just full of boner jokes and titties.
I mean, there are ample of both of those in this week's film selection. But first, welcome back, Flickers. Welcome back.
Welcome back. Of course.
This is Far Out Flicks, in case you I don't know how you would get to this point of the podcast without knowing the name of it. But we're here to talk about some, far out movies with you guys. Week after week.
Heck yeah, man.
Week after week.
Speaking of far out movies, we got a bunch of... We're entering a golden age of... I don't know. That might be going a little far. But we have some far out movies that are being released these days.
Well, everything's just so goddamn weird in general. Like, I watch advertisements that have come out over the last 5 years, and it's like... It looks like something that William Street production, like Aquatic Hunger Force put together, which was criticized by most of the adults in my life when I was a young man as being bad for my brain. And now it's freaking everything. Everything's weird, but it's not bad for your brain. Weird is sweet. Weird is life.
I really want to see the Northmen. The new Robert Eggers film.
Yeah, I had a friend actually see
excited.
It yesterday,
and
very positive reviews.
Excellent. I mean, it looks all... I heard it's kind of like Viking Apocalypto if it was Vikings, and if it wasn't directed by an anti-Semite. Cut that out.
Yeah, I mean...
Also, we have...
slander.
Allegedly. No, they've got recordings of Mel Gibson doing his thing. Also, we have got The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent.
Could you repeat that? Sorry, I was...
The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent.
Ah, yeah.
The new film where Nick Cage plays himself. Also, we have a new Alex Garland film coming out next month, which was totally not on my radar at all. It's called Men. I liked his first two films, Annihilation and Ex Machina. And also he wrote the book The Beach, which the Leonardo DiCaprio film is based on.
Mm-hmm. I actually have not seen that.
What?
Yeah.
I mean, it's really... I like it, but it's kind of cheesy and lame. But
sure.
At one point, Leonardo DiCaprio is like losing his mind and like becomes a Mario character, and he like thinks he's in a video game. It's odd.
Pretty bad ass sounding.
It's odd. It's definitely odd.
And then just the obligatory call out, Annihilation.
Yes.
Check
it out.
Has been our most listened to episode recently. So thank you.
No,
guys.
That was adaptation.
Oh, fuck me. Okay, I did have it right. So that's actually season 1, episode 11. Annihilation, season 1, episode 9.
There you go. And then, of course, Robert Eggers, we did The Lighthouse. So we're tying it in.
Yeah, it's all... I mean, I think that's what I love about our podcast is that there's just like a lot of familiar regulars that play in the very wide genre of being far out.
The movies are my friends.
It's like
They're
a meta
only
genre.
Friends.
I'd call it a meta genre.
There you go.
Doesn't that sound fancy?
Coin it.
I
do have... I was disturbed to find out that they have made allegations against Bill Murray, and now they're trying to cancel him. That is upsetting. And they have not said what the allegations are, so they're probably fucking bullshit, I hope. But I don't want to live in a world where Bill Murray's canceled.
Are they like recent events?
Very.
Well,
it stirred up a bunch of old shit where he was an asshole on different sets. But apparently he like was getting a little handsy with women on the filming of a new movie that was with, I guess, directed by Aziz Ansari, who has his own history of having allegations against him by women.
Correct.
I don't know.
That was
it's
debunked. Aziz was.
Was it?
Yeah.
Was it debunked? Yes. I hope to God Bill Murray is debunked. Like, what if he ends up being like a Bill Cosby character and he's been doing it for years?
I mean, you would think with a name that big that if there was a long trend of it, that it would have come to light by now. But maybe not. I mean, I'm not going to pretend like I'm some expert on that. I hope
Don't act
not.
like you haven't done it, Andrew.
I fucking for sure haven't. I love women.
Can't keep your hands off them.
No, I had wonderful female role models in my life as a child, and I respect and value women. Fuck what else? I mean, part of me is just like, is he just like? I mean, he's old. Like old men.
He's old.
They start like the the inhibition just goes through the fucking out the door.
If you're older than 70, I give you a pass. Like, if a fucking 78-year-old man just flashed his dick at me, I'd give him a pass. I'm not going to go to the authorities. Like, I mean, yes, it's uncomfortable. I don't like being... That's out of my comfort zone.
I think you should maybe go to the
but I'm not
authorities
going
to like get
to
him
prosecute.
You might, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't press charges, but like, you definitely would want to notify the authorities that there's a...
They already know. Like,
very
the people...
old gentleman...
That's not his first time. If he's doing that in the nursing home, that's a thing he does, okay?
You're possibly correct.
But my main point is I don't want to live in a world where Bill Murray is canceled. That's not a world I want to live in. Whether he deserves it, whether the allegations are false, don't want to live in that world. Or if he did horrible things, I also don't want to live in that world.
Yeah, it'd be devastating. I hadn't heard this yet. But it would fuck up Scrooge for me, and that's,
Scrooge. That's like, the one you think of?
No, it's not.
What about Life Aquatic? That fucks up our whole podcast. We supported this motherfucker.
I mean, we would still be supporting Wes Anderson and all the other very talented actors involved in the Life Aquatic, which... if you haven't heard that episode, it's my favorite Wes Anderson movie. And I mean, you can't do Wes Anderson without hitting Bill Murray.
Absolutely,
a lot of times. So
that might ruin Wes Anderson's whole career. He knew about it. He knew about it the whole time. It's like Tarantino and Weinstein. You think Wes Anderson didn't know?
I mean,
all of this is allegedly, by the way, folks.
Let's hope, for the time being, that this is not something that has been ongoing. And, I always want to try and adhere to the rule of law and, the innocent until proven guilty faculties. So, it's distressing to hear, but hopefully the allegations are not true.
Hopefully not. We don't even know what the allegations are. We don't even know what they are. If he grabbed my ass, I'd be okay with it.
Dude, I came in fucking wielding fire in my hands, and you doused it a little bit with the fucking Bill Murray news. Man.
My depressing Bill Murray news. It's probably nothing. It's probably nothing. To be clear, if it is something, we never supported him.
Where'd you see it? What was the news source?
I don't even know.
You always have to consider the source.
That's true. It's in multiple sources. I mean, they shut down production of that film.
Oh, yeah, you did say that shit. Well.
All right, getting into some other slightly rapey territory. Troma.
Oh, man. So Troma, for those of you who do not know anything about them. And actually, before we even do that, if you have not seen this movie, we always encourage our listeners to view the film prior to listening, because we're going to spoil stuff. We're going to talk about it. We're going to have fun with it. But it might not be so fun if you want to see the movie with fresh eyes.
Or if you don't know what it is and you're probably never going to watch it, just listen. That's my take.
Sure.
Andrew and I disagree on this. Movies are... Who has, in this TikTok age, who even has time to sit through a 2-hour movie?
We do a podcast about movies. We need people to sit through movies.
Well, if you're watching these movies, what are you even doing with your life?
Dude, they're enjoying it.
Good. Actually, no. Toxic Avenger, to be clear, was like the most fun I've had in a long time.
Troma is a lot of fun.
That's their whole brand.
It is their whole brand. It's schlocky. It's gory. It's over the top.
Raunchy.
It is raunchy. Not to keep coming back to that, but it's like Porky's. But it's better. It's more.
Porky's was inspired by Troma, is what I read somewhere.
Oh,
so there you
that
go.
makes sense.
Boom.
Mm.
Exactly. The 80s sex comedy targeted towards horny teenage boys.
Now, in fairness, Porky's portrays sexual indecency towards people as like an enjoyable thing. So
we're not condoning that.
No. Versus the Toxic Avenger, the people who are sexually indecent are almost universally the bad people. Not to say that being, sexual is bad, but certainly like sticking your dick through a hole in a girl's shower room or whatever is bad.
It's bad.
It's bad.
Unless it's explicitly defined as a glory hole.
Unless the cameras are rolling and it's part of the fucking script. You don't need to stick your dick through a glory hole to to unsuspecting women. It's not okay.
Andrew's done it before. But it was consensual, right? Story for another time.
Story for another day.
Troma, actually, a lot of big names kind of came out of Troma. Troma, to be very clear, is they're a movie studio that just created a bunch of B movies that most people have never heard of. And
Independent.
Independent. Excuse me.
But no, they are B films. They are B films by genre.
And they're low budget. And but a lot of big names have passed through Troma Entertainment, and most notably Trey Parker and Matt Stone. That actually the first big thing they did was Cannibal the Musical. It was originally called Alfred Packer the Musical. If you've never heard of this, just go watch the trailer on YouTube. It's awesome. It looks amazing. I haven't watched the whole film, but they sold it to Troma, and basically it launched their careers. And to date, actually, Cannibal the Musical is Troma's best-selling film now, due to this later success of South Park.
And this would have been before, like, Orgasmo even, right?
Right.
Excellent. And look what those two have gone on to do. They have, they're trailing The Simpsons, but they're staying in the game. And they're way funnier than The Simpsons. The Simpsons sucks now.
Dude, have you seen the new season of South Park? It's hilarious.
It's hilarious. They still got it.
It's still coming out. Then you got Samuel L. Jackson was in one before Pulp Fiction, by the way, called Death by Temptation. You got James Gunn, who I think there were allegations against him about something. I can't remember, but he wrote Romeo.
But DC Comics scooped him right up, man.
Yeah, they just brushed that right under the rug. Romeo and Juliet was written by him. You got Billy Bob Thornton. That's a great one. J.J. Abrams was involved.
Marissa Tomei.
Who's that?
Marissa Tomei, my cousin Vinny.
Oh.
If you've ever been stuck in the Alabama mud, that one. She's also in a lot of other stuff. She's the newest Spider-Man's hot aunt.
Oh, hot Aunt May.
Yep. Thank you.
Very good. Yeah, she is hot.
And she also was Adam Sandler's romantic interest in... I'm just flexing like random Marissa Tomei titles I can think of.
Sure.
Adam Sandler's Anger Management.
Oh, never saw it. Even
With
though I
Jack
love Jack
Nicholson.
Nicholson. I love Jack Nicholson.
It's pretty good. It's pretty damn good for an Adam Sandler comedy from the early 2000s.
Very good.
Yeah.
Kevin Costner's first film was a Troma film. And then later, when he became successful, he tried to buy the rights that he could just bury it forever. And they said, fuck you. So it's still out there. I will say this is unfortunate. Troma did bring us Fergie and Paul Walker,
But they also
not
brought
a
us
huge
Carmen
fan.
Electra.
That's true.
She was important in
She
my
was very important.
formative teenage years.
Oh, absolutely. Are you kidding me? So yeah, but Troma Entertainment was founded in 1974 by Lloyd Kaufman. That's the name to remember. That's the big man behind the mastermind behind the Toxic Avenger, if you could call him that. And by Lloyd Kaufman and Michael Hers. And yeah, I guess their first mainstream success was the Toxic Avenger, even though I asked multiple people in my life this week if they've seen the Toxic Avenger, and none of them had heard of it, except for my sister.
I would say Chud is also a fairly well-known one, though. If for no other reason, like Archer referenced it, kind of like its peak. I know that introduced some of my friends because they were like, "Have you seen this movie?" And I was like, "I have."
Very good.
It is awesome.
Have you seen the Troma film called Tales from the Crapper?
No, I have not. I did read about it today.
It sounds awesome. Lloyd Kaufman stars in it, and he is the crap keeper.
The crap keeper.
And it's like a play on Tales from the Crypt.
Wonderful.
And it has talking penises, fat men, gore, nudity, and UFOs. So that one sounds awesome.
So nudity, gore, just over-the-top campiness.
Mainstays of Troma.
And really what I think is super fun, well done practical effects. So for our listeners at home, practical effects are like traditional mechanical effects. I guess with like kind of the tail end of that being like animatronics that have been used and were used really from the 80s onwards. But like, it's when you see like a boil bubble up and pop, and you can just tell that it was like a real pop of liquid that pops out instead of some CGI, whatever. That's the practical effects.
Love it.
And it's what makes movies magical. A lot of my favorite films in our catalog are very heavy on the practical effects end.
When everything went to computers, we lost something with the practical effects.
The love.
It's kind of on a comeback, though, like the Cheddar Goblin and Mandy and just things like that. There's some puppets are out there.
And there are modern studios that do very advanced practical effects. I'm going to forget the name of it, but there was one that had submitted, like a demo for the Thing 2011 prequel. And there's a YouTube video for our listeners who are interested in checking out, but like their practical effects are extremely lifelike. It was very, very impressive. Ultimately, the film went with CGI though because it was much cheaper.
Yeah, that's kind of the problem. It's a little bit of a lost art, and now when it's brought back, it's almost like a nostalgia thing.
But it just makes it
cases.
Chef's kiss. I mean, it's just so good. The studio is also known for its rules of production.
What are the rules of production?
It's sequentially, the first and most important is safety to humans. The second is safety to property. And the third is make a good movie.
I love how make a good movie's third. I mean, yes, I get safety should be first, but I mean, you'd be shocked at how many times like stunt people die on these movie sets, and especially these lower budget films,
Yeah, and the earlier Tromas, the cult classics, if you could like capture in a bottle what everybody in college thinks the 80s looked like, that is like the Troma aesthetic on top of all the schlock and gore and super sweet practical effects. It is very 80s.
Yes. I mean, the Toxic Avenger, half of it takes place in an 80s health club where, they look like they're straight from a Pat Benatar music video or something.
Yep. The kids work out, and keep their bodies tight, and do drugs, and get in trouble.
Fun stuff.
Although, I don't see a lot of drug use at my gym. But then again, it was the 80s. I don't know.
Now it's behind the scenes. But yeah, the Toxic Avenger. So I guess Lloyd Kaufman originally got this idea in 1975, like almost 10 years before the movie came out, because he read an article saying that horror films were no longer popular. And he said, fuck that, which I agree. I love a good horror film.
They're my fave.
And so he decided to create his own horror film. Originally it was called Health Club Horror, which is why throughout the film, The Toxic Avenger, they do not ever say The Toxic Avenger until the very end, I guess. We'll get there. One of the characters, the kind of side characters in the film, the actor alleges that the film was financed by the mob. And it's set in New Jersey, which I couldn't help but note that there's a Sopranos subplot where the mob is filming. They're funding a B horror movie that's being filmed in New Jersey. So that's kind of fun.
Yeah, I think there was probably some of that going on. Allegedly the mob had its hands in a lot of things. Only allegedly, though. That's my official stance.
Sure.
Of note regarding where the film takes place, the town is called Tromaville, which is another regular staple of Troma films. It is frequently the location that it takes place.
Yes. This film, it's crazy because I guess it was so controversial that they had trouble getting an R rating for the movie, but it's kind of tame. It's a little bit tame now. What were you going to say? Were you going to agree with that?
By today's standards, sure. Right. Very tame. For mid-80s, this was, it was pretty gratuitous.
Still not safe for work. I do want to put that disclaimer out there. There's almost a few softcore sex scenes and drug use, and they run over a kid's head and it explodes.
But it's equal part feel-good superhero movie.
Yeah, it's funny because those aren't really what defines it. The whole time I was just laughing my ass off. It's not like it's threatening kind of violence that makes you uncomfortable. It's it's fun. I would describe it as fun. That's its main characteristic.
Some more fun Troma stuff.
Yeah, what you got? You've seen more than I have.
Well, the company at large does something called Troma Dance Film Festival. It is done on the same day as Sundance to
as a FU to the man.
Well, just to really accentuate that they are the truly independent filmmakers.
Yeah, they're the ultimate outsiders.
But they've been making movies for going on 50-ish years, over 40. Gosh, yeah, no, they're almost at 50 years now.
Yeah, that's amazing. Lloyd Kaufman is a perverted old man. He's a dirty old man, and I followed him on Facebook, and every day he posts what he calls Toxie's video of the day, and it's always just a chick in a stripper dancing. It's so ridiculous. They're usually not even attractive.
Well, there is, as was common to slasher and horror films at large in the 70s and 80s, this film is absolutely filled to the brim with attractive women.
Oh, yeah.
That's a thing in slashers,
Why do we want to see them die so much?
I think just sex sells, man.
Is that something? Yeah, okay.
Nobody wants to watch a Ugo get cut to pieces.
Would you rather see a obese woman covered in warts die, or like a hot stripper?
I guess neither in real life.
Yeah, I guess this is going into a dark place.
Yeah, God.
Sorry, Flickers.
On film, probably the stripper.
All right,
it's not
this
real.
got
None of
weird.
this is
got
real.
weird. Let's move on.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean that's kind of like Troma in a nutshell. We mentioned a few, but Class of Nukem High, Toxic Avenger, the film we're doing today, Chud, which is Cannibalistic Humanoid Underground Dwellers, which is another classic of theirs, and then 3 subsequent Toxic Avenger films.
Subsequent or subsequent?
Whatever. I don't know. I don't know the difference, man.
I have not watched those, but I would like to. They're fun. They look
this one's
fun.
the most fun in my opinion.
Have you seen them all, or have you seen multiple?
I've seen 4, 1, and either 2 and 3. I haven't seen all 4. I can't remember if it was 2 or 3 though.
There you go. Well, yeah. So Toxic Avenger kicks ass, and it's worth
Troma
noting just
kicks
right up
ass.
front, they're rebooting it in 2022. Hopefully, it'll be released this year. They already finished filming it. They're rebooting Toxic Avenger with Peter Dinklage. Peter Dinklage is the main character, who is Tyrion Lannister from Game of Thrones, and he's going to be Toxie, the Toxic Avenger. Kevin Bacon will be the bad guy, and Elijah Wood's in it.
Sweet.
So this is going to be their biggest budget film probably ever, just by the fact that it has 3 known entities in it.
Yeah, not small names by any stretch of the imagination. I don't know how they're going to remake it. It is beyond my conception currently, because frankly, I don't think you can remake this movie.
It's not very PC 2022. It's not going to, like, the concept behind the Toxic Avenger doesn't vibe super well. I mean, the main points are all there. There's some environmentalist aspects, and it's kind of a fun superhero romp, but they're definitely going to have to cut out some of the edgier bits.
Yeah, it's like if Porky's had a baby with Captain Planet, and then you threw, I mean, I'm trying to think what the schlockiest film I can think of before this, chronologically. I don't know.
That's a good. I mean, this is up there as far as the schlockiest films I've ever seen. I mean, it's right up there at the top of the list for me.
They're known for the schlock, but it's the good schlock, that pure fucking high-tech schlock. So I guess we're jump into the movie now.
Yeah, let's jump into the movie.
We've sucked Troma off an adequate amount.
So the film centers around a character called Melvin Ferd, who is a 98-pound weakling, who is the janitor of the health club. And I just want to go ahead. I don't have the actor's name in front of me, but his performance is phenomenal.
Mark Torgey. Or
Mark
Torgel.
Torgey. He does a good
Torgel?
job, right?
He does.
His performance is incredible.
His last name is Junko, and he's actually the third. If we really want to split hairs about the main characters now.
There you go. Yeah, that guy. So he's the main character.
In the shithole town of Tromaville, population 20,000.
Where it seems like a lot of people here are either corrupt or they're assholes, or it's not really a nice place.
They're they're the U.S. capital of toxic waste.
That's not what you want your town to be known for, and it's set in New Jersey. So walk us through the beginning. How does this movie start?
I mean,
they're all making fun of him. I mean, if I remember correctly, he's like mopping, and then there's these kind of meathead jock guys who are assholes and their hot girlfriends, right?
Yeah, I mean, it does some pans and shit, of Tromaville, background of it being a toxic shithole, basically.
Sure.
But then, yes, they're in the health club, and Melvin is just like the biggest loser of all time. He's just clumsy, stumbling around, weakling just slopping his mop bucket fucking everywhere.
He's so awkward he can barely even like get a sentence out around humans.
But then like all the cool kids in the health club, and by kids I mean like late teens, early 20s or whatever. They're probably all early 20s, but they're supposed to be late teens. They're mean and
they keep calling him
just
Mop
bully
Boy.
this dude all the time.
They're like, Mop Boy.
They become like more and more violent too. Showing some escalation. If we want to get into serial killer terms. And there's like at one point where the girls are talking about like one of the girls, Julie, I believe, was talking about how she wants to go on a ride with them again when they like run somebody down. Which is like, dude,
so good.
Who does this? Fucking town of psychopaths.
Love it. And the two bullies, they're named Bozo and Slug. And apparently that's what they do. And they all get in their little sports car or whatever, and they're kind of immediately painted as the villains of the story, right? But they talk about a game they play where they try to run down minorities and children.
So yeah, they're bad.
It's terrible. They're bad people.
They deserve what's coming. That's what's fun about this is there's not a lot of gray territory for the vengeance that's dealt upon them.
The Toxic Avenger, he fights evil, and these people are pure evil. But they see this
evil.
little kid riding on his bicycle, run him down. Then they're like, oh, he's not dead, so they back up, run right over his head, which pops in a very cool scene, which I think was cut out of many of the editions. There's a lot of different cuts out there of this film, and it's on YouTube. I shared it on our Facebook page, Far Out Flicks. And but I don't know if it has all of these scenes. It definitely doesn't have the titties and probably some of the more graphic violence.
Yeah, they Troma actually had a bunch of videos they put on YouTube, but in 2020, after receiving a bunch of complaints, I think we're forced to take them down. So I guess they released it with some parts included. I paid the $3.99 to watch the full unedited cut.
I think it's worth it. You don't want to miss out on any of those details.
No, it was pretty sweet.
But then the bimbo chicks, they start like taking Polaroid pictures of the kid with his smashed head.
Yeah. Which,
little side note, just in case I forget about this point, it's one of the more fucked up parts of the whole movie. But later on, you see the girl masturbating to the Polaroid of the kid's smashed skull.
So she deserves what's coming her way too.
Exactly.
And they hit the kid, and then they have to like hit him again, run him over again. Like this wasn't even just a one-stroke thing.
Sometimes they don't die the first time.
Ugh. But the head squish is pretty sweet.
That's one of my favorite parts of the movie. It's clearly like a clay pot or something.
Dude, it takes some pretty big balls to show child death right out the gate.
Right out the gate. We had another film. Weren't we talking about child death right out the gate recently?
We were. It might have been.
It wasn't one we did.
Alien versus Predator 2.
Oh,
I know.
Right. It's a bold choice. That was our decision.
I feel like that just like primes you for fucking struggling for a rated R rating. Like that's a lot of like marks against you right away.
Well, the Toxic Avenger, they had to cut out like more than 30 minutes of footage just to get that R rating.
Yep, not surprising. So yeah, they kill the kid.
At some point, Mop Boy Melvin, he like accidentally the bullies are all in the hot tub or whatever, and he dips his mop right in and like puts it on their face on accident. It's all an accident because he's just so awkward and goofy.
Yeah, this guy would never get a date to really paint the picture for you. It's like part of the story, basically.
I don't know. I feel like in this day and age, there's a place for him, especially now with the internet. He could find his soulmate.
Okay, well, in the 80s, when the internet wasn't invented yet, or wasn't...
He does kind of look like a guy who might have like a waifu pillow.
Dude, he could definitely
life-size waifu pillow.
He looks like a living Mad Magazine boy.
It really does.
But if he had a really bad puberty,
which they make it, his mother makes a joke about his puberty later.
yeah, she does.
But
They
all right.
basically the cool kids, our villains, trick Melvin into wearing a pink tutu and like rubbing all over a sheep.
Well, he's not totally innocent because at one point he's in the locker room mopping up and he sees them fucking and he just watches and he's just like, oh.
Well, again, man, back to the Porky's thing. You know, fucking for whatever reason, that was like
That was okay back then.
that was just a normal thing a guy would do.
I guess so. I mean,
It wasn't, but like, you know, I hope it wasn't.
in some way that was comedic. It had comedic value where it's just cringe today.
I mean, at the same time, in Bob's Burgers, like Tina tries to look through some locker rooms with
funny
like,
when
holes or whatever.
It's funny when a woman does it. And actually at the most recent Oscars, there was a woman making jokes. She brought up the hunks on stage and was like grabbing their dick and ass, and it was kind of controversial.
Yeah, that's
It's weird
objectifying
how
behavior.
things change.
So I guess he kind of deserves this just a little bit, but he's not an all around bad person.
I mean, they shouldn't have been having sex in public.
Yeah, I mean that's true. If you have sex on top of your hotel's roof and some people from the street see you, like, is it really their fault for seeing it?
This sounds like it might be based off of your actual life story. But yes, so the hot girl tries to seduce him because they're gonna play a prank on him, of course. She tells him she loves it when a guy wears pink and tries to get him to dress up in this pink tutu. And then, of course, she tries to humiliate him in front of everyone while he's in the pink tutu. And at some point during all of this bullshit that's happening, he falls into a container of toxic sludge. Green toxic sludge.
Dude, he falls out a window.
Yeah. It's a great superhero origin story. But yeah, basically he's writhing on the ground, all burning from the acid, and his face is all
Toxic waste, not
bubbling
necessarily
out.
acid.
Sure, but it looks like it's having an acidic effect on his body.
Yeah, he's got burns, chemical burns.
But ultimately, I think he like gets up and he runs. Doesn't he catch on fire at one point?
He does catch on fire as he's running off. And he runs
Safety
home.
first, my ass. That
Like-
looked super dangerous.
Yeah. I mean, you know, there's a safe way to do fire stunts, I think.
Sure.
Although that dude who played Jason in all the Friday the 13th movies, Kane Hodder,
Yep.
dude, he like famously set up like a demonstration of a fire stunt to show like, you know, how to do it safely, and burned like 2/3 of his body.
That's
how he got the burns. It's
a little bit ironic, but that's not the kind of irony we like here at Far Out Flicks.
No.
I don't like people to get hurt.
Yeah, it certainly is dangerous, but there are safety mechanisms for stunts, and Troma values this. I'm going to defend Troma every step of the way here, damn it.
Do it. I will too.
Yeah.
But yeah, so basically he mutates into this horrible monster.
Yeah, he's giant. He's got superhuman strength.
And he's
now
green.
He's got a much better, more articulate sounding voice now.
And
He's got a smooth voice for the radio.
Yes, and it's overdubbed in every scene in the most hilarious way. Like, they don't even try to make it look like it's coming out of his mouth.
You don't even see his face for like the first half of the movie.
Hello, ma'am. Are you okay? I'm sorry about those bad guys.
He kind of sounds like Shane Wasana-song. Or Ted Wasana-song. Ted, Shane's his son. Been on a King of the Hill kick recently.
Good. Can never go wrong with King of the Hill.
Yeah.
But yeah, so now he's a superhero. He wears the tutu always. That's part of his thing now. Got to keep the tutu. And now he's just a monster who's going to fuck all the bad guys up. It's great.
Yep.
Love it.
He's developed an innate sense of hatred towards evil.
Yes, and then not long after this, I think we see like a police officer, and he's like got a gang of people around him, like messing with them, and the Toxic Avenger just comes out of nowhere, fucks them all up.
So no, the first like scene where we see Toxie, the name of the Toxic Avenger, open up a can of whoop ass is on the group of drug dealers. Led by the criminal cigar face, who are about to blow the cock and balls, or cock or balls,
yes,
off of O'Clancy, a police officer.
But yeah, Toxic Avenger comes out of nowhere, fucks these guys up, saves the cop. The cop kind of runs away in fear.
Oh, he leaves a mop on their faces, too.
Is that his calling card?
Yeah.
It's pretty good. There's just so many, like, it's hard to capture, like, there's the pacing of this film. Every second you're getting another little joke. Some of them land better than others. Some are really kind of juvenile. But some of them are so fucking funny. Like in the mayor's office, it's 3 guys sitting there. They're all kind of corrupt. They got a stripper dancing in the background. And fucking at one point, the one guy's just kind of staring into space with his mouth agape. And the mayor's like, hey, is he dead?
The mayor is like a cartoon corrupt politician. It's just like the most rotund big man they could find with a devilish mustache.
Yeah, he's essentially a mob boss or something, you know? But he's the mayor. It's pretty fun. Then the next scene we get where the Toxic Avengers fucking everybody up is in a diner. And like these gang members, they kind of look like the Warriors, which that's a far out flick we might do in the future, actually.
I was going to say, if the Warriors, the Toxic Avenger, and a Clockwork Orange, which, you know, as soon as we do the Warriors, that'll be all 3 far out flicks, has taught me anything, it's that there were just roving gangs of dudes dressed like fucking Batman henchmen.
Clowns and shit. Yeah, with lipstick on. I like it. That's the world.
If you couldn't look like a not selected David Bowie outfit, like, you were not a real gangster.
I mean, I do think it shows a certain amount of confidence to dress like a clown.
I just fucking hate clowns. Ugh.
But they're just being assholes in this diner, and they killed this blind woman's dog.
Dude,
it's
and
terrible.
in the I bet they cut this section out. The blind girl almost gets raped by one of the...
Oh, yeah, he bends her over, and he's like, I've always wanted to cornhole a blind girl.
Yeah.
It'd be so dark if, you know, it wasn't immediately followed by jokes.
Oh, and they shot a dude, too. I mean, the dog is more memorable because it's sad. It's a doggo. But they shoot a dude, too. It's worth knowing. So
yeah.
They've already killed one
cares
person
about him.
and one dog.
Then I think one of the guys they shoot, they like start waterboarding him with ice cream and milk.
Yeah.
It's so absurd. Then they put another like employee's arms in the deep fryer, which, can you imagine how painful that would be?
Oh yeah, well the Toxie intervenes. The blind girl does not get raped.
Yes, and immediately he just rips one of the bad guy's arms right off of his body and just slaps him with it, which is pretty
fucking
fun.
Lays him out with it.
Then he stuffs a guy into the oven.
And as you said, he does deep fry a dude's hands in the deep fryer.
Yes. And then, of course, that blind girl whose dog got killed, she ends up being Toxie's girlfriend, and she's pretty hot.
She falls
honestly.
in love with him because he's a beautiful person, and she's blind and doesn't have to see his
hideous
horrific
monster
deformities.
Face. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, at one point, so he takes the blind girl back to his house. She's trying to touch his face. She's like, can I touch your face? He's like, no, I have a rash right now. She's like, oh, like acne? But yeah, it's kind of sweet that he has wouldn't think this film would have a romantic element, but it does. I mean, it's kind of fucked up, but it's there. So then next you have like the town. They're having a press conference. They're like discussing the monster. The monster's loose, but he seems to only be killing bad guys. But the whole town's corrupt, so it's all bad guys. So it's just a slaughter fest, which is kind of fun.
Yeah. Let's see, who else does he kill? He kills a dude trying to pimp out like a 12-year-old girl.
Yes, and when she's like, "This isn't the David Bowie concert."
He's not David Bowie.
Oh man, I wish I lived at a time where I could go to a David Bowie concert. Do you know how much I'd pay for that?
Yeah, I mean, we were alive when
well,
we gone to a David
I'm not
Bowie
talking
concert.
about late stage David Bowie. I'm talking about like Ziggy Stardust era.
Yeah, that would have been really sweet. Probably shouldn't say late stage David Bowie.
That's really not funny.
I mean,
R.I.P. R.I.P.
Yeah.
First of all.
I'm sorry if I just made that a joke.
No, I mean, well, fuck. When we had all those rock star deaths all back to back, David Bowie, Prince, Tom Petty, David Bowie hit me the hardest.
Dude, I cried the morning I woke up and I read that David Bowie died, and then yeah, Tom Petty and Prince, same year.
That hurt. But yeah, so there's a guy selling drugs at the health club. Of course, Toxie's gonna kill this motherfucker.
Oh yeah, dude, this is such a cool death.
This is a cool death. He smashes his head with the weight machine, the weights from the weight machine.
Yeah, he like holds his dude down on the bench and puts his head under like the weight machine's, block of weights that is lifted up, and then just drops it and lets that thing just plow right through his noggin.
Oh yeah. Then, okay, so the next scene was when the girl's touching herself to the Polaroid of the dead kid.
Yep.
That's just such a dark It's weird how this movie can be so fun and lighthearted, and then it's juxtaposed with that.
Yeah, with somebody
image.
physically getting off. Dude, I mean, serial killer shit.
That is serial killer shit.
It is.
But yeah, so Toxie goes in there. It's her time to die, okay?
But really, it was just so they could squeeze some more sex into the movie, probably.
That's all it was. And interestingly enough, I would argue that like some of the raunchier bits are the parts that have aged the worst, in the sense of like it's just so unnecessary. And I get that the raunchy, horny comedy was a trend at that time, but you don't really have those today. Are there any movies coming out that are like that today? I mean, I know we don't even have many movies coming out.
In recent history there were, but like not in the last 4 or 5 years.
Like really. It just seems so out of place that it.
But the Hangover, Wedding Crashers, there's been plenty of raunchy films.
Fair enough.
Recent enough memory that have done well. But yeah, I would agree. You just don't see it nearly as much.
So it's a little shocking when you see it. So she's in a sauna where they like pour water on hot rocks, I guess. And he picks her right up and fucking just puts her ass right on those hot rocks and burns her ass.
Yep, I think he says something about like, how do you like this hot ass or something like that.
Something stupid.
But he does let her live. He just burns her butt on the sauna heater.
And at one point he kills some bad guys and he's like, "Tell your friends I'm not just another pretty face." It's all just so ridiculous.
Yeah, there's some great one-liners.
Then one of the next scenes, it's Slug and Bozo again, and they're again running down children. They find 2 kids just sitting in the middle of the road for some damn reason. Of course, Toxie runs out, saves the kids.
Because he's a good guy.
Yeah, and then it has a lot of scenes where he's saving people. He helps an old lady cross the street.
Yeah, he's just an all-around great guy.
Some woman, he's such a good guy. And some woman's in her kitchen trying to open a jar, and he just like reaches in through the window and opens the jar for her. What a fucking hero. He saves a baby. Then all of a sudden the public opinion is changed. There's a newspaper article, "Monster wins Tromaville's heart." Which, at that point, the mayor's getting a little nervous because he's going to fuck up their whole operation.
Yep.
And he basically says, we need to kill him before he kills us.
Yeah. So Toxie, he does kill an old woman. He freaking dry cleans her.
Yes! But it turns out she was running a slavery ring.
Yeah.
That part made me sad. She was like a little person. And then he put her in the dryer.
And he pressed her, too.
And then he pressed her on the iron.
Yeah. Like
Oh,
the
that was-
panini.
That was dark. When that's
Like a
happening, you're like, what the
geriatric
fuck,
panini.
Toxie? What the fuck are you doing? And then you find out, oh, she runs a white slavery ring. They specify that it's a white slavery ring.
It makes it worse.
What? He didn't say that. He didn't say that, Flickers.
I don't think that. That's not my opinion. But, I mean, why else would you include that detail?
I think they were trying to specify that it wasn't classic American slavery.
Oh.
They were trying to make a distinction there.
You don't think they were trying to make white America feel more
Uncomfortable?
more uncomfortable?
Maybe. But yeah, so next
I hope
we get
everybody
on.
listened through to that and don't think that, you know, I think like that.
Yeah.
Did it? God damn it.
Oh boy. So next we get some romantic scenes between Toxie and his blind girlfriend, which this part's just ridiculous. Of course, she pops open a bottle of champagne and the cork hits him in the dick and a bunch of other stuff. Then they start making out and they fuck. Which is very awkward because it like shows him humping her.
But with like his entire Toxic Avenger get up, which I understand it's supposed to look like his skin or whatever, but it's very
It just
clearly
looks like
wearing a
green
leotard.
tights. It's so low budget, it just looks like green tights.
Green tights.
But yeah, at one point he's humping her, and then like it just cuts to like them smoking cigarettes post coitus. Pretty fun. Classic. Then it shows them hula hooping. He takes her to his place. He lives in a toxic dump. I don't know if we said that, but he lives in the toxic dump.
In a little makeshift camp he's built for himself.
Yeah, and I mean this part, it's kind of sweet, you know. There's someone out there for everybody, even if you are a toxic mutant.
It's good to know.
Then we get a great scene where Bozo and Slug, the main bullies, they steal a car from this little old grandma. They offer to help her carry her groceries, and then they just throw her down and beat her up with their own cane. I don't know why I'm laughing. But anyway, Toxie jumps in front of the car, gets on the roof, and there's a whole chase scene, which is pretty fun. Yeah. But yeah, he like reaches through the window and starts choking Slug, and eventually just pulls the. He says, "How's it feel to hit a kid on a bike? Feels good, huh?" And Bozo's like, "I'm a stressed person." I just love that excuse. I'm a stressed person.
It makes
sounds
it
like
better.
something you'd say, Andrew, as you're committing some horrific act.
I mean, you know me. Committing atrocities.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, so eventually he just pulls the freaking driving wheel off and they just go right off. Well, first of all, I thought this was kind of messed up. Toxie, he makes them drive right through a playground. It's full of children.
Not very safe.
It's not very safe. But it goes off a cliff and explodes, which is pretty fun.
Yeah.
So now Slug's dead.
Yeah.
Of course, Toxie just walks away unscathed.
He's basically invincible.
In one scene where they go back to the toxic dump, there's just a copy of Richard Nixon's book in the sludge.
Troma hated Nixon and Reagan, for that matter.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember if it was Ronald Reagan or Richard Nixon, actually. It might have been Ronald Reagan, because this was probably when he was president.
It would have been Reagan, yes, and not Nixon. They made a movie that was to, I forget the name of it, but it was to, like, the purpose was to lambast Reagan's romanticized portrayal of war.
Oh, that sounds fun.
Yeah.
That sounds like a fun one. But anyway, Toxie now, he confesses to his girlfriend. He's like, every day I go out and mash people. And she accepts him for who he is, which is really a beautiful thing. And
It is.
They decide they're going to go live out near Miller's farm where there's no people that he can hurt.
If only we could all be so lucky.
Then the mayor holds a press conference. He's trying to rally support behind his cause of trying to kill Toxie. He says, "It is not a human being. It's an it. You can kill in it.
That movie was Troma's War, by the way.
Troma's War. Oh, that's one that's forgotten history.
Oh, it was a box office flop. But actually, like,
They all were.
well, this one is like what started their like financial hardships as a filmmaking studio.
Yeah.
It did not do good.
Yeah. So now we're kind of near the end, the big climactic scene. All the cops. I think the mayor calls in the National Guard, and they're all trying to hunt down Toxie. They've got dogs on his scent.
Yeah, the governor doesn't want him killed. He wants him brought in alive.
But the mayor is insistent on killing him.
Oh yeah, he's gonna get him.
It's an it.
Toxie.
You can kill an it.
You can kill an it. That's just science.
That is science. So they find Toxie and his girlfriend. They're camping in this little tent in a field. They surround him with tanks and stuff. And, you know, the police chief, he does a Heil Hitler to the mayor. And it's just, they're just terrible people, right?
They're awful. They're the worst.
The kids of the town, they try to protect Toxie. They're like, no, he's a hero, blah, blah, blah. And basically, that's kind of how it ends. The kids just save him, right? And some of the cops, I think he saved a cop at the beginning of the film. That cop vouches for him. And then the National Guard just lowered their guns.
Yeah, but that same cop earlier on, when like the kids were like, "We have to do something," was like, "We're not equipped to make decisions. You can't just go around doing things because it's the right thing to do."
I'm so glad you brought that up. That's a fucking great line. Yep. That's how I live my life.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's fucking hilarious.
But no, Toxie's mom shows up and reveals that the mutant is her son, and then the mayor's evil ways are revealed.
Yeah, he says he's gonna kill himself.
Oh, and Melvin, dude, we're forgetting the mayor has his guts ripped out by Toxie.
Yes, which is a
to
great
see if he
scene.
has any guts.
Punches him right in his stomach and just rips out his stomach.
Yeah.
And everyone cheers. Everyone's happy that the mayor's finally dead. And then,
yeah, that's Toxic Avenger 1.
If you want to know the rest of Toxie's story, you got to watch Toxic Avenger 2 through 4.
And we forgot to mention this earlier, the Toxic Crusader, the 1991 kid-friendly TV show adaptation.
So absurd that it's just so not kid-friendly in
it's
any
like
way.
They were like trying to cash in on like the environmental
Captain Planet
cartoon, the Captain Planet Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles thing.
They really were.
Dude,
man.
I love a superhero who's just like charged with saving the planet. That's great.
That is great.
I'm a fucking tree hugger, man.
Damn hippie.
Yeah, long haired.
But yeah, I mean, it basically, and again, I mean, it's taken on a cult life of its own that spawned a lot of shit. I want to say they were comic book. I think it had a brief DC comic run. All sorts of stuff. And then now it's getting a reboot again with Peter Dinklage, which, fuck, I love him so much.
Yeah, PDD is fucking the shit.
PDD. Yeah, man, and I will watch the other ones. I have not. So, full disclosure, I've only seen Chud and the Toxic Avenger of Troma, and I must say I haven't had this good of a time watching a movie and laughed and just felt happy this much since probably Borat.
I know, and you're fucking coming unglued over there right now. So for this, I'm glad this film brought you some joy. It brought me joy too. It's a fun watch.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those films that brings you joy, but you're more depraved for having seen it.
Sure, but again, by like modern standards, it's not too crazy.
Not too crazy. I mean, the worst part's definitely the girl rubbing one out. She's flicking her bean to the fucking dead kid. That's just so wrong.
It is so wrong.
The original flicker.
But there are a lot of hot babes.
Oh yeah, and there's titties, and it's just a fun movie.
Yeah.
You know, I wouldn't watch it. You know, it's
With
not
your mother?
everyone's bag. Not everyone's gonna like this. I loved it.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely like wouldn't want my grandma watching this with me. Or to know that I've watched this, for that matter.
She'd never look at you the same, Andrew.
No, it'd be the undoing. But that's it, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. As always, you know, leave us a comment, give us a rating, tell a friend, give us some downloads.
Send us an email.
Suggestion. Tell us what you want.
fartflixpodcast@gmail.com. Yeah, we take suggestions. We're probably not going to do it because all of your suggestions suck. But
we're going to sound like boomers, but we have a Facebook page.
Yeah. So if you're between the age of 35 and 60, give us a like.
Yeah, on Facebook.
We're not on the TikTok. I refuse.
We will be on the Instagram.
Will we?
We should.
We suck at the social medias, guys, but
Yeah,
we finally
I don't
did
even
set
do
up
it
the
in my own
Facebook
life.
page. We set up the Facebook page.
We did.
That's a lot for us.
One fucking step at a time.
Listen, we do this out of the pure joy of it.
Maybe next week we'll get one of those confangled cell phones. Finally cut the landline.
I'm thinking about going back to a flip phone. Fuck this noise.
Rotary phone.
Well, that's it, Flickers.
Until next time.